Oh, another lovely spring day. Geez, bright. Just got out of work. Just about ready to go to sleep. I'm that worn out. I got out of said on-grid house because they are coming back from holidays and want their house back, and I was mopping it all out and cleaning it up last night, and that dragged on to about 10:30, and then I had to get up at 4:45 to go to work. Needless to say, now it's the afternoon and I'm a little bit tired. Anyway, I just want to talk about the little proposal video Troy had, but before I get onto that, I should alert you that there appears to be an imposter out there. There's another Link Knight channel. Not me. So if you get some weird PMs or weird comments, click on the avatar, which is basically, you know, one of those little person outlines in blue, you know, the basic one when you don't set up an avatar. And if it says there's 0 subscribers, well, you can be pretty certain it's not my channel. Yeah. So there you go. Seems I've managed to get an imposter, but these sort of things happen when you talk out against Troy. Seen a few other comments from a few other people. Apparently I'm living at home with Mummy and Daddy, regardless of the fact that you never really see Mum and Dad in my videos. I think twice you've seen my father's back in the last 2 years. That's about it. And apparently I was born on this property. No, I was born in a hospital in the other side of the country. And my family has lived here for generations, which means that's why I've got so much cut firewood. Well, that's sort of half true and half not. Because, yeah, we've had this place since the 1860s. But, you know, no firewood was collected by any other family members since 2010 when my uncle dropped dead. He never cut any firewood, regardless of the fact I bought him a handsaw and a chainsaw, which it turns out the fuel settings on the chainsaw were set incorrectly in the factory, and the bloody thing's basically too rich to run unless it's really cold weather, which may explain a few things. And the oiler didn't work in it. This is what you get from a new chainsaw, but that's what happens when you buy things at clearance sales. Yeah. And before that, nobody even lived here for 20 years, and it was quite a common occurrence when they herded up the sheep every year for shearing that they would have to go through the house to check there was no sheep in it and get the sheep out of the house to make sure they had all the sheep. In fact, my bedroom, still with the same floor it's got today, had a foot deep of sheep shit that they had to shovel out. My uncle had to shovel out when he come here after his repossession, and while he lived in that, he was fixing up that. But anyway, of course there's going to be baloney out there if you say anything against Troy. It's very interesting, you know, his little proposal video. Oh, look, you know, he proposed and she accepted and this and that and da-da-da, isn't it lovely? Hang on. What did you actually see in that proposal video? What did you see? Because I see we get to like 2 minutes and 20 seconds or something, there's some point there, and I see, will you marry me? And then the after results. It was edited. He asks us, will you marry me? And then there's a cut, there's a chunk edited out, and then it comes back again. And we never hear her say yes, we never hear her say no. because whatever she said was edited out. And it's quite obvious. You can see the split and the change. And then she's hugging him, and he says, I'll take that as a yes. Well, is there anything to say he didn't ask? She didn't say no, and then he said, well, how about you at least come back to America with me as a de facto, or, how about some other thing, blah, blah, and that's all edited out. And then the answer to that he's taken as a yes. When a girl gets a proposal and she gives her answer, if it's supposed to be a yes, do you think she'd just give you a hug and that'd be about as good as it goes? And if he's so excited, why is he standing there with his arms straight down as she's hugging him? I'll tell you what, that was the most indecisive marriage proposal I've seen. And I've seen a number of them, because there are stacks of them on YouTube. And I've watched a few. Watched quite a few, actually, on YouTube. And, well, that's the most indecisive one I've seen yet, where you get to the big point that she's supposed to answer yes or no, and there's an edit. And then there's no kiss, and then the best she can manage is to hug him while he sits there, arms down like a scarecrow that's had his arms fall down. That's, people, all this sort of stuff is typical of a lot of his videos. The moment of truth gets edited out. You never quite really know decisively what happens. I'll take that as a yes. It's what he says, and she... Well, I didn't really hear her say anything. But this is the same old stuff that you sort of get. But, everybody, all his supporters in the comment, oh, so lovely, oh, they're going to get married, oh, ho, ho, ho. And I may note that another woman in the comments mentioned that, and this isn't uncommon, actually, in some countries, under some circumstances, there's quite a possibility that if they get married there, if she did indeed say yes, that her country will stop her leaving the US even for a visit. Because as soon as they find out that you've married a foreigner, they don't want to let you go. This is something that happens in the Philippines, apparently. And this woman was speaking from the experience of one of her workmates who faced all that firsthand. I believe it's also been made law in Egypt, because what used to happen is a lot of rich, old Arabs from Saudi Arabia, big oil money, would go marrying these younger, poor girls in Egypt. The straw that broke the donkey's back and helped pass that law was a 94-year-old Saudi man marrying a 17-year-old Egyptian girl. That pretty much broke the donkey's back, and they said enough is enough. And I think if there's any more than, is it either 15 or 20 years difference, it might just be 20 years difference, they won't allow the marriage, and they won't recognise it, and they basically won't let her leave to be with this quote-unquote husband if there's any more than, it's either 15 or 20 years age difference. And there you go. But, there's some countries that Russia's the same with orphans. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, the only orphans that a foreigner could adopt was ones that had mental disorders. So they go through or some sort of disability. So they go through rubber stamping them all with mental disorders and disabilities and all this, and then the potential Americans would go, oh, gee, you know, do we really want to adopt a kid that's got severe disabilities? But they had to say that for them, you know, to allow the Americans to adopt them. And the truth was they were hoping Russians would adopt them. But hey, the currency collapsed like a stack of shit. Nobody had any money. Everybody was uncertain of their future. Only a handful of people were really rich. And here they were suddenly thrust into capitalism after, what was it, 70 or 80 years of communism? And there were no Russians adopting any of the Russian kids, but that didn't bloody well matter. They still didn't want these Russians to leave. And often enough what had happened is these kids I think the girls get booted out at 18 and the boys get out at 16 or something like that. The boys would end up in flipping street crime, usually selling drugs, and the girls would end up in prostitution. And that would happen so many times. But oh no, we want to keep as many Russians here, you know, Russian orphans here in case a Russian couple wants to adopt them, regardless of the fact that they're completely unsure of their future now that communism has collapsed. But anyway, we'll see how it goes and how it all pans out. But if you thought you saw a nice proposal and acceptance, I want you to ask yourself what you really saw, because I saw the girl never say yes. I saw Troy limp-armed as she was hugging him. I saw him say, I'll take that as a yes, and I saw a big chunk edited out straight after he actually proposed. And, you know, when you see things as how they're actually shown, not how you should be looking at them, then you may see some truth emerge, or see that, well, basically the truth is concealed. And, you know, he can show or not show whatever he wants to show or not show. You know, I never showed you guys any photos of Little Miss, although I have them, because I believe it's disrespectful to show her photos when she really didn't want anything mentioned about her on YouTube in the first place. Too late about that. Anyway, I'll leave it at that, and I might go have a little snooze.